Chico's Comanche Creek is now clear of all campers and most of the trash they left behind, but the area is still closed to the public. Action News Now anchor Haley Watts shows us why.
Hi there, Haley Watts here, and I'm with Public Works Director for the City of Chico, Eric Gustafson, and we are at the Comanche Creek Greenway, which is completely empty. That was not the case just Monday morning, right, Eric?
Correct, yeah, there's quite a few people here. The encampment's the largest that we've experienced in the city of Chico. It's been here for a little over 2 years, and sometimes it was well over 150 people. So yeah, we're excited to conduct some enforcement efforts here and finally get it cleaned up and then ultimately be enjoyable for the citizenry of Chico.
Remind me how much trash, I'm 153 tons of trash was pulled out just
it's
this
a
week?
lot. Just on Monday and Tuesday.
Wow.
We still have some numbers coming in from Wednesday and a few from this morning. But yeah, as far as Monday and Tuesday goes, we pulled out 153 tons of trash from the area, not including some metal recyclables that we also sorted and separated. And there was two 40-yard debris bins that we packed pretty tightly that were full of recyclable materials. It's also not counting the household hazardous waste that we found in the area. We found a lot of used car batteries, used motor oil, antifreeze, gasoline containers, propane containers, butane containers, that type of thing. A lot of them were in the creek. We pulled out numerous car batteries, tires out of the creek, so a lot of debris. It's unfortunate, the vandalism and those impacts that took place here on the environment and biology, but we're excited to have it cleaned up and we'll start the restoration effort and open it back up to the community.
Do you think those environmental damages, what do you think is the time frame before that has kind of resolved itself or has been cleared?
Yeah, as we've talked about, there's still some micro trash scenarios that need to be picked up. We look forward to coordinating with our local volunteer groups to conduct those operations. They do a fantastic job at that. And then we just want to kind of let it sit for a little bit and naturally revitalize.
Right.
And once that takes place, we'll continue our assessments. There's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be repaired, landscaping, lighting, irrigation, replanting trees that were adolescent trees that have now died because the irrigation was ripped out. So a lot of revitalization and repair in that perspective, and then we hope to slowly in phases start to open it back up to the community.
The city is hoping volunteers will help clean up the micro trash left behind from that camp. Go to actionnewsnow.com and click on news links to learn more about how to get involved. Cal Water customers are cutting water use in Chico. District Manager Evan Markey told Action News Now that citywide water use is down 11% over June of 2020. Oroville is down 1.5% from 2 years ago, both a big improvement over May numbers. As the summer heat rages on, the Tahoe National Forest released Stage 1 fire restrictions limiting smoking and campfires. Visitors are still allowed to build fires with campfire rings, but only at designated campgrounds and day use sites, not outside of those areas. The updated restrictions took effect yesterday. Retail giant Amazon expands to something new and unexpected: healthcare. Plus, a new bill on Capitol Hill aims to cement the right to contraception into law nationwide. But first, President Biden tests positive for COVID-19, how he is coping with the illness. The November 8th general election is now open for candidates to file in Butte County. In the Chico Unified School District, there are 3 four-year term openings. There are 5 openings between Oroville Union High and Oroville Elementary School Districts, and 2 four-year terms open in the Paradise Unified School District. There are also seats opening on Butte County's Board of Education and Community College District. The deadline is August 12. More than 2 years into the pandemic, and President Biden has tested positive for COVID-19. Deborah Alfarone reports from the White House.
Fresh off a visit to Massachusetts
We need to act.
and a 4-day trip overseas,
The United States is going to remain an active, engaged partner in the Middle East.
President Biden has tested positive for COVID-19. Epidemiologist and CBS News contributor Dr. Celine Gounder spoke about the president's case.
He's been double vaccinated and double boosted. He is a healthy 79-year-old. He also has started Paxlovid, which we know further reduces the risk of hospitalization.
The president's doctor said those mild symptoms include runny nose, fatigue, and an occasional dry cough.
I understand that the symptoms are light. I hope they continue to be so. That was my experience, and I hope that that's the case for the president.
The president had a crime prevention event scheduled in Pennsylvania today, but the White House says he will stay in isolation until he tests negative. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, the White House.
Vice President Kamala Harris, who previously recovered from COVID-19, tested negative for the virus this morning. She was last with the president on Tuesday. Today, the House voted 228 to 195, largely along party lines, to pass legislation to codify the right to contraception nationwide. The Right to Contraception Act seeks to protect from potential Supreme Court intervention. It would also affirm the right for healthcare providers to provide contraceptives and allow the Justice Department and entities harmed by contraception restrictions to seek enforcement of their rights in court. All but 8 Republicans voted against it.
You know, if you look how poorly written the contraceptive bill is, we have looked at trying to, for example, get more over-the-counter contraceptives. What they do in this bill is they allow a drug that's not even approved by the FDA to be sold commercially, which would jeopardize women's health. That's in their bill. You see groups like National Right to Life and Susan B. Anthony oppose it because of concerns over abortion drugs.
All 220 Democrats voted for the bill. It is not expected to clear the Senate. Amazon wants to reinvent healthcare. The company agreed to buy One Life Healthcare, which operates 12 membership-based doctors' offices called One Medical in a number of states. It's a $3.9 billion deal and adds to Amazon's growing list of ventures in healthcare, including Amazon Care and Amazon's pharmacy business. An inside look at how local police are preparing for a possible active school shooter situation. And high temperatures have most of the country looking for relief from the heat.
And one way you can do that, seek out the shade, a fan, and an air conditioner. You will need it tomorrow, just like today. There is a little bit of cooling coming for us, but not enough to shut everything down. So make sure you stay cool and stay safe. Let you know how long the potential cool down will last in your 7-day forecast right after this. You want me to start at the wall?
You're watching Action News Now. Storm Tracker weather. Coverage you can count on.
A good Thursday afternoon, everyone, as you take a live look outside looking toward Mount Shasta. A beautiful looking view. I wish we had more snow on the slopes than we do right now, but it is melting rapidly. That's what's going to happen during the summer. We didn't have a lot of snow on the slopes this year, and now with the enhanced heat, it's melting even faster. Right now in the city of Mount Shasta, it's 96 degrees, 106 degrees in Redding right now, 99 degrees at the airport in Chico, but in town it's hotter than that, 103 degrees in Red Bluff and 95 hot degrees in Paradise. Very little cloud cover around the entire region. Some marine layer, much cooler weather right along the coast, but that is not making it this far inland. We're still going to have a clear sky tonight, a clear sky tomorrow also. Plenty of sunshine for us, but what isn't shown here is the minor weak trough. It's going to move overhead, cooling us a little bit, but not even moisture enough to give us any clouds. Certainly no chance for any rain, but a minor cooling that you may or may not be able to notice, and we're still going to have some gusty afternoon and evening winds. So overnight tonight, as that trough gets closer, we'll have some more breezes coming out of the northwest for a little while, but then they still subside by the morning. We'll have more breezes tomorrow afternoon between 15 and 25 miles an hour, and then quieter weather again by Saturday morning before it all begins again. Saturday afternoon, still high to very high fire danger. We have one more red flag warning until 8 o'clock tonight for eastern Siskiyou County and most of Modoc County, with still some gusts up to 35 miles an hour possible. And as far as that yard work, if you need to get something done, tomorrow probably the most ideal day because it's going to be slightly cooler, but it's still going to be hot for everybody, so do it as early as you can in the day and make sure you stay cool and safe. Here's your forecast for tomorrow. Cooler, but not that much cooler. We're going to have highs in the 90s and triple digits for Siskiyou and Trinity counties. Also slightly cooler for northeastern California, upper 80s, lower to mid 90s for highs on Friday. For the Ridge, we'll have lows tonight in the 60s and lower 70s. Highs also a little bit cooler, but still quite warm to locally hot, mid to upper 80s and lower 90s tomorrow. For the Valley, we'll have a clear sky tonight with lows in the mid to upper 60s. Highs also closer to seasonable, but still pretty hot, 102 to 103. And for the Chico area, lows tonight in the 60s, highs tomorrow also at or slightly above 100 degrees. Next 7 days in Chico, it isn't changing very much, 100 to 103 degrees all the way through Thursday. And for Redding, also triple digits across the board, averaging 105.
Thank you, Jason. A former Minneapolis police officer sentenced today for his role in the killing of George Floyd.
Which camera?
Have the newsroom see what they can find out. Do you know which camera? Doe Mill Ridge, Doe Mill Road. The homeless are gone from the Comanche Creek area of Chico, but less than half of them went to the pallet and tourist shelters. So where are they going? Action News Now reporter Chloe Curtis spoke with people living near Windchime Park who say they're seeing a lot of homeless move in.
People living across the street from Windchime Park say they've seen the number of tents and RVs grow, especially over the last couple of weeks.
It's not really possible just because I feel like there really isn't a park anymore since there's so many homeless people living there.
Lupe Aceituno lives in the Bay Area. She says every time she visits her dad, she sees more homeless living near Windchime than before. Shelley Holland moved to the area recently, and she says she's seen the city working through the park.
The city's been here and already went through there. How come they're not? I don't know what they do when they're over there, but yeah, a little bit faster.
I also spoke with Chico City Manager Mark Sorensen, who says homeless can't move from one cleared out area to another park. He says moving notices won't be issued in the next few days, but the city will be meeting to discuss next steps for addressing other homeless encampments in Chico. Chico police and city workers were also at Windchime Park patrolling this afternoon, but tell me they weren't issuing notices to anyone living in the park. In Chico, Chloe Curtis, Action News Now. Coverage you can count on.
We will continue working to find out just when the city plans to move in and clear out Windchime. Well, dangerous heat continues to impact large portions of our country. The National Weather Service says above normal temperatures will continue across much of the U.S. through the end of the week. Trinity Chavez reports.
Utility workers in Queens, New York spent hours Thursday trying to restore electricity to hundreds of customers who lost power during one of the hottest stretches of the summer.
It's horrible. It's horrible. I sat outside here until 10 to 4 this morning.
In Baltimore, some people sat in the shade to beat the heat. More than 100 million Americans are under excessive heat warnings and advisories, and the above normal temperatures are expected to continue across much of the United States through the end of the week.
Despite the scorching temperatures, some people are still heading outside, but with a few extra precautions.
The best thing I try to do is stay hydrated. That's the important part.
Petty cab driver Amadou Traore says he drinks a lot of water and stays in the shade in between passengers, but there's an upside to this heat.
Most people don't really want to walk in this heat, so sometimes it kind of brings more customers.
In Central Texas, Brenda Long put an umbrella over her air conditioning unit to save money on her electricity bill, which was $300 last month.
This is the most expensive statement I received since I've been in this house for 26 years.
But AC repairman Gary Mahan says putting umbrellas over AC units can do more harm than good.
All it does is cause it to recirculate hot air into the condenser.
Still, with the temperatures this hot, people are going to do whatever they can to stay cool. Trinity Chavez, CBS News, New York.
And with much of the nation dealing with this prolonged heat wave, President Biden announced new executive actions to combat climate change, including $2.3 billion investment to build climate-resistant infrastructure. The January 6th committee holds another primetime hearing tonight. We have details on what it wants to show and who is expected to testify. Plus, the next steps in rebuilding debris cleared from property burned in the McFarland and Dixie fires. But first, an emotional encounter over the mass school shooting in Uvalde, Texas.
covering Northern California. You're watching Action News Now, coverage you can count on.
The Red Bluff Police Department is hosting an interagency active shooting drill today. It's happening at Red Bluff High School. If you hear any loud bangs or gunshots, that's where it's coming from. Action News Now reporter Ryan Caney shows us why the department is focusing on this training.
Police tape surrounded Red Bluff High School as shots rang out through the halls. This is a nightmare scenario for any parent, especially after the recent school shooting in Uvalde, Texas. It's been almost a decade since police have trained for an active shooter situation at Red Bluff High School. Today, officers are working on small group tactics. This will help prepare the officers who get to the scene first on how to handle the active shooter as quickly and safely as possible.
Usually, change that happens with active shooter or an active event like that is it's ongoing and it's immediate. So it's not something that you are going to wait for more people. You may wait for one more person if they're right behind you, but you may go in by yourself.
Some students and staff helped out with Thursday's drill, acting as victims.
The community as a whole should have their faith in us, and really this training is needed. And so we're very thankful for not only the high school for allowing us to have this event, but the community for its support for this event.
Police tell me that this training went well, and they hope to have this training more often than every 10 years. In Red Bluff, Ryan Caney, Action News Now. Coverage you can count on.
Police will continue their training until 5 o'clock tonight, so you may still hear some commotion coming from the school. The public anger over the school massacre in Uvalde continues to boil over. Lilia Luciano shows us an emotional encounter between the gunman's mother and one victim's family captured on video. We warn you, it may be hard to watch.
A tense confrontation was caught on camera by a Telemundo news crew.
You have no right to judge my son. No, you don't.
It shows Adriana Martinez, the mother of the attacker, responding to the family of Amory Jo Garza, one of the 19 children murdered at Robb Elementary.
Why didn't you call the cops to begin with? I didn't know.
Martinez then apologizes.
I know my son was a coward. You don't think I don't know that?
Since the shooting, emotions in Uvalde have been raw.
I can't help but wonder if they just didn't find our children worthy of being saved.
Just 3 days ago, the community blasted the school board for not firing its chief of police, Pete Arredondo.
Why the hell does he still have a job with y'all?
And after all the backlash, yesterday the school superintendent recommended that Arredondo be terminated. The school board may vote on whether to fire him this Saturday. Arredondo, who was placed on leave last month, has come under intense scrutiny for his perceived inaction and is now facing even more condemnation after body camera footage outlined a botched response from his and other departments.
Can you hear me, sir? Please put your firearm down.
But in that video, Arredondo is heard trying to negotiate with the shooter. Active shooter training instructs the officers to immediately stop the threat. He told Texas lawmakers he thought his priority was to protect children in other classrooms and didn't consider himself the incident commander. The family of 10-year-old victim Josiah Garcia can't comprehend why officers were standing around waiting.
If they would have breached earlier, they could have saved some kids.
Lilia Luciano, Uvalde, Texas.
This Saturday, the school board may vote whether to fire Arredondo. Happening today, CAL FIRE crews taking part in a wildland preparedness drill. It's happening northeast of Peg Leg Lookout in Lassen County. These are photos from a training crews did earlier this month. Today's exercise involves CAL FIRE air and ground resources that you will be able to see from Highways 36 and 44. A former Minneapolis police officer has been sentenced for his role in the killing of George Floyd. A federal judge sentenced Thomas Lane to 30 months in prison plus 2 years supervised release. Lane, one of 3 officers convicted of violating Floyd's civil rights for not giving him medical care. Lane testified he didn't realize how dire Floyd's condition was until paramedics arrived and turned him over. Prosecutors wanted a prison sentence of more than 6 years. Members of George Floyd's family are not happy with the 30-month sentence.
I think that it's insulting that he didn't get the maximum amount of time because to me, if it was me and that was accessory to murder, they would have gave me the maximum amount of time. And you're a police officer who was sworn to protect, who took an oath, and you didn't get the maximum amount of time. To me, I think this whole criminal system just needs to be torn down and rebuilt.
Lane faces another sentencing in September, this time in state court, where he changed his plea to guilty to reduced charges. Micro shelters could soon provide shelter for the homeless in Reading. The City Council this week approved an agreement to allow the structures behind the Reading Area Bus Authority office on South Market Street. The goal is to allow 20 people to stay there for up to 10 months with hopes of getting them into permanent housing. The City Council also voted to allow Tesla to build a supercharger station in the parking lot of the Sundial Bridge. The project, to include 8 charging stalls, would open within a year. All 25 properties in Tehama County taking part in the Consolidated Debris Removal Program after last year's McFarland and Dixie fires are now eligible to start the process of reconstruction. Under the program, participating property owners incurred no cost directly anyway. The permit process follows the completion of site assessments, asbestos surveys, the removal of bulk quantities of asbestos-containing materials, and the removal of eligible debris. A final walkthrough by state debris officials ensured all work met state standards. Chico's Butte Humane Society raising money to pay for its shelter's replacement of a washer and dryer. The organization says the current washer is being held together with cardboard and bungee cords. The fundraiser has already reached its initial goal and is now aiming to raise $30,000 more. Butte Humane is hoping to get 2 washers and dryers. The organization washes more than 10,000 pounds of laundry every month. The Ford Motor Company announcing thousands of jobs will be cut. What's fueling that decision?
If you're looking forward to the weekend and you're looking for a destination, all of our area lakes and reservoirs are going to be hot and sunny this upcoming weekend. Whether it's Lake Almanor, also Lake Oroville, Shasta Lake or Trinity Lake, expect temperatures in the 90s and triple digits. Let you know if there's any relief from that coming up.
The House January 6th committee will hold another primetime hearing at 5 o'clock tonight, so we won't bring you Action News Now at 5 and 6. Instead, join us for a special newscast at 8. Tonight's hearing will focus on former President Trump's actions as rioters stormed the Capitol and how law enforcement eventually turned the tide. Natalie Brand has a preview from Capitol Hill.
Ahead of tonight's hearing, Select Committee member Adam Kinzinger tweeted a preview, video depositions of White House staffers who were with former President Trump on January 6th.
He was always in the dining room. It's my understanding he was watching television.
Was the violence Capitol visible on the screen on television? Yes.
The panel's 8th hearing will focus on what the former president did and did not do during the first hours of the U.S. Capitol assault, before he later posted this tweet calling off his supporters.
So go home. We love you. You're very special.
The fact that nothing happened and that it took so long for him to act is incredibly puzzling and distressing.
CBS News has confirmed the star witnesses are expected to be former Deputy White House Press Secretary Sarah Matthews and former Deputy National Security Advisor Matthew Pottinger.
The committee is expected to detail the efforts by the former president's inner circle to try and convince him to take action during the assault, as well as the fallout later that evening and into the next day.
It's obvious the president, was derelict in his duty, but for all the details, you have to watch.
The investigation is also intensifying into missing Secret Service text messages from January 5th and 6th, which were requested by the committee. CBS News has confirmed the DHS Inspector General has asked Secret Service to stop their internal investigation so it doesn't interfere with the IG's probe. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Now, tonight's hearing is expected to last about 2 hours, with Committee Chairman Benny Thompson attending remotely after testing positive for COVID-19. We will air that hearing live after this newscast and again have a special Action News Now broadcast at 8 o'clock. Ford is expected to cut thousands of jobs this summer. The Wall Street Journal says more than 4,000 white-collar jobs will be eliminated. Ford has declined to comment on any plans to change staffing. The move is reportedly fueled by the automaker's efforts to beef up its electric vehicle production. Ford wants to get some 600,000 EVs on the road by the end of next year. Factory workers are not expected to be impacted for now. The automaker employs about 43,000 salaried workers in North America. Mothers Against Drunk Driving recognized a handful of Chico police officers for keeping our community safe by enforcing DUIs. The organization acknowledged officers with 25 DUI arrests or more. Congratulations to our officers and all of the officers who were recognized. The Reading Police Department will hold a DUI checkpoint tomorrow from 6 to 11 p.m. at an undisclosed location within the city. Checkpoint locations are chosen based on a history of DUI crashes and arrests. Serious injuries after a shuttle bus crashed today at Los Angeles International Airport. Okay. So it's of what? You have it written in there? Okay, thank you.
They took down the Capitol like the rioters now won?
You're watching Action News Now. Storm Tracker weather. Coverage you can count on.
A live look outside from an alert wildfire camera overlooking Siskiyou County, where there is currently a red flag warning. Jason Stiff here to tell us what we can expect in the days ahead.
Yeah, we still have that red flag warning for 2 counties, for Siskiyou County as well as Modoc County, and the camera that I picked up is the other county. We have a live view from our Devil's Garden camera overlooking eastern parts of Modoc County. For both of those, we still have that red flag warning out, appropriately named the Devil's Garden. It's hot as the devil outside right now for most of us. Red flag warning continues until 8 o'clock tonight, but thankfully not extended into Friday, so we stopped at 4 straight days. Though eastern Siskiyou, most of Modoc until 8 o'clock, when more gusts up to 35 miles an hour possible. And it's hot outside. Alturas is 94, 96 degrees in the city of Mount Shasta, 103 in Red Bluff, 106 degrees in Redding, and 103 degrees in Oroville. Very few clouds though, only a couple over the mountains, and once the sun goes down, they are going to disappear. Now, in the short term, not much change. Still a clear sky for us, but there's a weak trough moving onshore. So moisture starved, it's not going to give us any cloud cover, certainly no chance for rain. A small, almost imperceptible cool down for us tomorrow, and then we're going to have that same ridge I've been talking about the last week and a half, pushing back from the east toward the west coast. That means more heat and more sunshine. Now, there will be some high clouds moving into our sky for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. Not a great chance for any wet weather. Slight chance for some showers popping up over the Sierra and the southern Cascades, but for most of us, if not all of us, it's still going to be dry and still going to be hot for the foreseeable future. That wind is still going to be a little bit gusty tonight. You can see the effect of that trough moving on shore. Some wind coming out of the canyon gaps to the west of the valley, so we'll have some breezes tomorrow afternoon and also tomorrow evening. But for the most part, we're still going to have plenty of heat going for us. So you want to get the exercise in, do it early when it's still not quite as hot. It's going to be hot by the noon hour tomorrow, although cooler than today. It's still going to be well above average. You want to get some grilling in after you've done that exercising. Also not quite as hot as it has been, but still averaging right around 100 degrees tomorrow evening. Still hot, very little relief, and we'll have more heat going forward. Here's your forecast for tomorrow. 90s and triple digits for Siskiyou and Trinity County, up to 100 degrees for Weaverville, slightly cooler than this afternoon. For Chester, a high of 92 degrees tomorrow, 95 in Shingletown and in Quincy. And for the Ridge, we'll have lows tonight in the 60s and lower 70s, highs upper 80s, lower 90s for Concow, Magalia, and Paradise. For the Valley, lows tonight in the seasonable mid to upper 60s, highs tomorrow still triple digits, slightly cooler than today and slightly above average, but still 102 to 103. And the Chico area, lows tonight in the 60s, highs at or slightly above 100 degrees, and that's about as cool as it's going to get. Next 7 days in Chico, between 100 and 103 all the way through next Thursday, with a mostly sunny to sunny sky across the board. For Redding, a little bit higher than that, averaging right around 105 degrees.
All right, thank you, Jason. A virus carried by birds detected in our area. The step you can take to avoid getting it. Keeping monkeypox out? I'm easy either way. I also saw Will said something about a fire in Forest Ranch, but I don't know. So I'm easy if you want to. If Jason can use more time in last weather, I need more time. He's. You think? I can add some more. You know, I took some time out of that monarch butterflies. I could put back. It's only 10 seconds, but. First at 4, a shuttle bus crash at LAX. 9 people were injured, 2 seriously, when a bus hit a pole just before 12:30 this afternoon. The Los Angeles Fire Department says 2 of the bus passengers have potentially life-threatening injuries. 7 others went to the hospital with minor injuries. That bus was traveling from the taxi and ride-hailing services parking lot on its way to the main terminal with 23 passengers and the driver on board. We told you earlier this month of the first cases of avian influenza virus in the state detected in our area. The CDC considers the transmission risk of the virus to people to be low. Those birds, by the way, found in Glenn and Colusa counties. The CDC does recommend if you interact with wild birds and domestic poultry that you take precautions by masking up, wearing gloves, and washing your hands. Happening tomorrow, the North State Food Bank will host a drive-through food distribution event from 10 to noon. The giveaway will be at Pines Hardware on Miller Flat Road in Yankee Hill. Stay in your car. Volunteers will bring the food to you. This bright butterfly in trouble, why officials say you might start seeing fewer of them when Action News Now First at 4 returns. One of America's most recognizable butterflies is at risk of extinction. The International Union for the Conservation of Nature lists the migratory monarch butterfly as endangered on its red list of threatened species. The organization estimates the butterfly's western population has declined 99.9% between the 80s and 2021. Experts say the biggest threats are habitat destruction and climate change. They say increased temperatures trigger early migrations, and droughts limit the growth of milkweed, which monarchs feed exclusively on. A live look at Washington, D.C., where in a few minutes the last January 6th hearing will take place. Time now for one last check of your forecast. Jason?
Yeah, if you're going to be heading out town, maybe around Chico for the Thursday night market, we're going to have some hot weather for you. Not much wind at all, just a few breezes here and there. Plenty of heat. Temperatures dropping slowly but surely from the lower 100s to the upper 90s from 6 p.m. until 9 p.m. And once you get done with that, you still got to be able to sleep. So how's that sleeping forecast looking? You're definitely going to need the fan and then the air conditioning. Awfully warm all the way through the early morning hours and then cooling down a little bit before the sun rises again.
All right, thank you, Jason, and thank you for joining us. The January 6th committee hearing is next. Join us for a special edition of Action News Now with Alan Morrison and Haley Watts tonight at 8.